Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can improve the detail. We can improve the sculpting. We can improve the paintwork. We can make the ultimate Goku figure. It is within our power. We can do Toriyama's art justice. And prove why we deserve the name SH Figu-ARTS. Alright guys, today we're going to be comparing the combination of some DCG Goku head sculpts and the NT Unyielding Spirit or Legendary Super Saiyan Goku to the official SH Figuarts Legendary Super Saiyan Goku, okay? Obviously from the thumbnail, the intro, you can already tell which one I prefer, but I'm going to show you the differences, the similarities and stuff like that, so you can basically get an idea of, you know, how this third-party stuff looks, how it articulates, any quality control issues, and whether you might decide to get this yourself or make this combination yourself as opposed to getting the official or even just replacing your official with this because, you know, artistically speaking, it's vastly superior. But that doesn't mean that it's a better figure entirely, okay? So let's get into this. All right, so first comparison we have here is the boxes, right? The official SH Figuarts right here. You should all know this by now. It's been out for quite a while. Okay, regular SH Figuarts. I mean, it's nice packaging, you know, it's very nice packaging, I'd say. I like the style of their packaging, so this is very nice, cool stuff right there. For DCG, the head sculpts, these like mini head sculpts coming like this little box here, and it just says DCG Toys, Custom Kit DCG 002. I think there are 4 of them, 2 base form Goku head sculpts. One is transparent hair, one is solid hair, and then there's 2 Super Saiyans, so one is solid, one is transparent as well. As you guys know, I despise anything transparent, shiny, all that stuff. I like matte all day, okay? So I got the matte version of the Super Saiyan, which actually has the like battle damage and stuff like that. The transparent version is like clean, like how Legendary Super Saiyan Goku is, with no scratches or anything, you know? So very clean, like, you know, fresh, as some people would say. So yeah, this is the box for the DCG. And when you know, open the box, like, you got the like stuff in here. Of course, I have the hair out already. And I think, what is this? What is that? Facesculpt here. I'm not sure what goes there. I'm gonna have to double check because there's something that goes there, but I know there's gonna be a faceplate there, hair there. I guess it's another faceplate. Okay, so I checked. The thing that goes here is the bangs, okay? And you also get these different neck peg adapters right here, A, B, and C. I'm using the B version because that is for like Legendary Super Saiyan Goku 3.0 neck pegs, right? C is pretty large, so I'm guessing that is for Kong. And then this one might be for 2.0s, it's smaller. So yeah, that's what you get in that box there, okay? Head sculpt, bangs, 4 face sculpts, and we're gonna look at this stuff in more detail. I'm just showing you what the package is like, okay? Now for NT, they actually include a brown shipper box, so that's pretty cool. It says Unyielding Spirit, NT Unyielding Spirit, but then it says nan&t. I guess their logo is NT, but their name is nan&t. I don't know, you know, third-party companies have like 15 names, right? So nan&t 01A. Now there is a manga colored version that's kind of like, it's like red and white, kind of like the Genki Damatsuri Goku. So I'm not sure if that box says 01B, but I would assume that it does, okay? The back is, of course, blank. Let me show you the actual box for the figure now. So the actual box for the figure looks like this, right? And, I mean, the quality of the image is really not great, okay? And even this, like, it looks like, yeah, like AI generated stuff, because if you look right there, it looks like Frieza has like 2 arms and stuff. Like, it looks very weird and messy, and yeah, AI kind of does that sometimes where it like just blends things together. So I mean, it's like, you know, I know it's a third-party company and stuff, but you know, man, like, couldn't you have found a manga panel of this or something? Like, you want to have good presentation for your product, right? You don't want to have this kind of like weird looking stuff going on. So I don't know, but yeah, so it says Unyielding Spirit there, NT up there, the logo, blank, warning, choking hazard, all that stuff, you know. So the box, if this was a high quality image and this was also like a high quality image, not like blended up weird looking stuff, it'd be, you know, decent packaging. Although I will say, one thing I don't like is that the packaging hides the figure. So it's like you see the head sculpts and stuff and the face sculpts here in the hands, but you don't see the figure. So that's really weird. I figured, like, no pun intended, if anything, you should put the figure here and put the accessories behind the image, because why would you want it that the box is not showing the figure? You know, it's kind of weird. So yeah, as far as packaging goes, I do have to say between these two, of course, SH Figuarts mollywops the NT, because I mean, it was nice quality images, good design and all that stuff. So yeah. Now we're going to look at the head sculpts. So here is SH Figuarts versus the DCG. We're going to do the stern expressions first. Of course, you don't need me to tell you which one is better, okay? It's very obvious. And then here we have the NT neutral expression. This one is definitely not my favorite. I think the NT face sculpts in general, I do not like them very much at all. I think they have a very cheap look to them. You know, I'm gonna bring it closer up so you can see that better actually. So you see how it has that kind of like cheap look to it? Yeah, I don't really like this at all, to be honest with you. And mine even has like a little speck on his nose there. I'm gonna have to, like, if I decide to, I guess, I'd have to remove that with some like clear nail polish or, you know, something like that to really clean that up. And I have to clean some other hair up as well. I'm going to show you that later. But yeah, so this one, no, these face sculpts are not for me, which is why I got the DCG. Okay, the DCG is just vastly superior to both SHF and this, but this is, I think this is subpar to SH Figuarts, unfortunately. Like, if you look at them right here, you can see the difference in quality, right? The SH Figuarts has much better quality than the NT, right? The NT, you know, it kind of borders on that bootleg look, you know? So here are the smiling faceplates for SH Figuarts and DCG, okay? I will say, the DCG, like, faceplates, the bangs are really tough to remove, at least for me, even after I put oil in there. So that might be a bit of a hiccup, okay? It looks really good, but once again, because it's hard plastic, for some reason they're really firm in there, it's difficult to pull the bangs out and stuff like that, and it does stab your hand up, so that is unfortunate. I'm honestly surprised though that the DCG isn't more popular, because I mean, it looks fantastic, but I guess it could be because this figure doesn't have, like, you know, the red wounds and stuff, so the face sculpts wouldn't really work very well on this body, but I am going to show that later, like interchanging the head sculpts and stuff like that as well, okay? And I will say too, I noticed that the DCG, well, the NT, sorry, the NT body is actually slightly taller than the SH Figuarts. I don't know why, but yeah, very interesting to notice that right there. Here is the NT smirk or smile expression, or what I assume is a smirk. It's really tough to tell. The mouth is not painted very well. Let me just get closer here. If you look here, the mouth is like not, the line there is not actually, I don't think it's where it's supposed to be. So it makes his mouth look kind of weird. Yeah, so this one, I guess he's smirking, but it honestly is kind of tough to tell because of the like, you know, the subpar application of the mouth paint there, the mouth detail, you know. Oh, and I also wanted to mention that I really love the hair color of the DCG head sculpt. Like this color and stuff, you know, is accurate for some scenes as well, especially when they're powered up and they have the aura going on, their hair gets really yellow. But I think most fans, including myself, really love this kind of like pale yellow, very light blondish color. This is just like artistically, I think very beautiful to look at and very cool looking. So I much prefer head sculpts with this kind of coloration as opposed to like the super yellow stuff, you know? Or at least for Goku. I mean, for Broly, I don't think I've ever seen Broly's hair looking this kind of yellow. So this kind of color actually, I think, works best for Broly. But for like Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, I think this color is really the way to go. Unless you do like, say, an exclusive that has like a shiny pearlescent finish and you give it like this kind of yellowish look, I think it would suit those. But for the ones where they're not shiny, they're matte and stuff, or hopefully matte, this color I think is the way to go. Or something very similar. And the DCG head sculpt set does not include a teeth grid expression, unfortunately. So here is SH Figuarts versus NT. And I mean, really, there's no contest here. The SH Figuarts is definitely vastly superior in the face sculpt department, okay? The NT does have the damage detail, but it's not enough to make it actually like better than SH Figuarts, I would say. DCG does have this face sculpt though, which like, it isn't teeth gritted, of course, but it is showing his teeth. So I guess like, you know, it can kind of work as teeth gritted a bit, but it's more like, I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah. So it looks good, of course, but it's not like the usual teeth gritted expression that we would get from SH Figuarts figures, you know? As for the yelling expressions, DCG does have one, of course, and SH Figuarts right here. I think the SH Figuarts is actually pretty good. It's very accurate to the source material, the moment when Goku says, are you talking about Krillin and the manga and stuff like that? So I think SH Figuarts did a pretty good job here. Of course, it doesn't have the damage detail to really make it pop and stuff, but the sculpt itself, I think, is pretty good. DCG is more of a, like, you know, a regular yelling expression, not scene specific. So I think in this case, they're kind of similar as far as artistic quality goes, but the DCG, because of the battle damage detail and stuff, just really gives you that feeling of like an epic battle and makes you remember DBZ and stuff like that, you know? So yeah, I think I prefer the DCG, but the SH Figuarts, as far as the sculpt goes, is accurate as well. It just depends on what scene you're looking at, what manga panel. They both can work depending on what you're going for. And here's the SH Figuarts compared to NT. And I do think that this is probably the strongest face sculpt from NT. I think this one actually looks pretty good. And because it has that damage detail, I think it honestly like kind of surpasses the SH Figuarts just a bit. Like you can tell like the quality isn't quite as good, but the detail makes it more of a like visually appealing face sculpt, I think. So I think in this case, I prefer the NT. This one is probably their best in my opinion, as I said. And for anyone wondering, yes, the NT face sculpt can actually fit into the Goku, like, are you talking about Krillin hair? So that does work. Although it's not like a completely snug fit. I mean, it works, but it's like, it has a bit of a gap in there. And the official SH Figuarts fits very, very cleanly against the edge. So that's a bit of a difference there. Like as you see here with the SH Figuarts, it fits pretty snugly there. Like there's not really like a gap or anything, just a slight gap, but minor stuff. But the NT had a much larger gap, right? And I wanted to mention that this NT hair sculpt is, as far as I can tell, a recast of the Worm Goku hair sculpt. This is the one that I originally used for my Yardrat Goku custom. So yeah, it's basically a recast of that from what I can tell. A difference though is that this one is magnetic, has a magnet here, right there. But this is just, you know, regular hair that you pull off and stuff. Can be a bit difficult to get off sometimes, but yeah, so this is not magnetic, okay? And for anyone wondering, this is what the NT faceplate would look like on the worm hair, which has a lighter color, as you can tell, compared to the NT hair right there. It's not a perfect fit. It does have, like, once again, a bit of like gaps going on, but it basically works. You know, you're not really going to notice that once the bangs are on, I don't think, unless you're really just looking at it very, very scrupulously, you know. But yeah, a bit of a gap there too, huh? Yeah, so it kind of works, but not perfectly. Although, to be fair, NT has gaps on its own hair sculpt anyways, so that might just be a flaw in the design of the face sculpts or the worm hair or something, you know, not specific to that combination right there. For comparison, the legendary Super Saiyan Goku face sculpt, one of them here, on the worm hair does not have as big of a gap at all. It's kind of like, it's almost like a perfect match. So that might just be a flaw of NT's design, unfortunately. And the NT Goku also includes this windswept hair sculpt, which is pretty cool. Pretty sure this is a recast, I believe, of Air Studio. I think Air Studio is who made this originally. The color is the same as the other hair sculpt right here. And actually, there's no gap by the ear or anything. So I'm guessing that they might have basically designed the faceplates for this hair sculpt and then just made them to be able to also work on this. So that's why this has a gap, because this was probably not the primary hair sculpt that they designed it for when they were working on it, because there's no gap there by the ear at least. But there is a bit of a gap right here, as you can see. And also over here, it's like there's a big gap there. It looks like he's like balding, you know? So yeah, that angle is not gonna be a good one. This one does look a bit better. And of course, like from the front, you know, looks totally fine. And this is what that hair looks like on legendary Super Saiyan Goku. And I have to say, this looks really cool, like super cool, man. I actually love this a lot. There is a bit of a gap there, if you see there. Let's see the other side. Yeah, you still got that bald spot thing going on. But like from this angle, man, this looks super cool. If this figure had like eyes looking down, that'd be super awesome, you know? But the NT doesn't have that, nor does legendary Super Saiyan Goku. DCG does have that as like a bonus thing. Like I think if you bought all 4 sets, you got some eyes looking down in the face sculpt. But honestly, I don't like how that one looks. I think that is probably their weakest face sculpt. I really don't like the look of that one very much. So I could have bought it for kind of cheap, but I was like, I don't like the look of it, you know? So I don't know. I might get it at some point, but I don't know. But then the thing is too, the DCG face sculpts are not compatible with legendary Super Saiyan Goku's hair or the worm hair or this hair. So even if you have the eyes looking down DCG face sculpt, you can't use it with this hair unless you modify the hair or modify the face sculpt or something, you know? So I don't know. If DCG had included this kind of hair with the eyes looking down, that would be absolutely awesome. All right, time for the head swaps, like the official head swaps. Oh, I forgot to mention this earlier, but to accomplish some of these head swaps, except like the DCG, that one works pretty well. It seems you're gonna need to heat up the head sculpts for a lot of these, right? Which is kind of weird because the neck pegs look very similar. So I don't know, but even the Air like recast, I believe this is, right? Even putting this on the NT body, which is the body it was included with, I had to heat it up a bit. So it might be a flaw of NT's design that the pegs and stuff don't work perfectly without heating them up. But also, I mean, even putting SHF on here requires me to heat it up a bit. At least I didn't want to just like break the thing. So it was kind of difficult, and I'm going to heat it up to make this whole process go a lot easier. Just letting you know that. All right, here's NT on SHF. And here's SHF on NT. This one was quite difficult to accomplish, so I don't really recommend trying to do this one, but if you do, make sure you heat it up to make the process go smoother and stuff, okay? Also bear in mind that like many third-party figures, the NT neck peg easily pops out when you're taking the head sculpts off, okay? Here's DCG on SHF. Very easy to accomplish because they have this like soft rubber adapter in there. So This is a very easy one to do, no problem at all, and it looks pretty good. Of course, the body is plain, so it doesn't really match the face sculpt with the damage detail and stuff, but I still think this looks pretty cool. Here's Worm on SHF, no heat needed, looks pretty good. I will say, like, one thing is that the sideburns, like the color doesn't match the hair, but I don't think, I mean, SH Figuarts, they do a weird thing where, like, oftentimes the eyebrows and sideburns of the character don't match the hair color. Very, very strange. Like, there are some scenes in the anime and stuff where that is the case, like the character's eyebrows are like darker than their hair, but I think aesthetically for an action figure, it looks best when they're both the same color, okay? But yeah, so a bit of a gap going on here. Let's see. Yeah, there's a bit of gap stuff going on right there. Not great, but overall, I think it does look, you know, nicer than the original SHF hair, at least in my opinion. As for putting the original Worm hair on the NT, you're probably going to have to heat that up as well because this is really not working here. But I'm just going to give you an idea of what it would look like. If you do heat it up, it'll probably look something like this. And you see, this is all like, this is another reason why I think like these hair sculpts and stuff, they need to be soft, because if they were, we wouldn't have to worry about, oh, am I going to need a hair dryer? Oh, is that going to work? Or is it compatible? Like if it's soft stuff and can just fit on anything, then that will be pretty cool. So yeah, this is what it would look like if you know, probably have to heat it up and stuff like that. And I think I forgot to show this earlier, but here is the windswept hair from the NT on the actual NT body, okay? So if this face sculpt was better, then this would probably look really, really cool, but I'm not a fan of this face sculpt right here. And I know I showed this earlier, but this looks so cool that I had to show it again. And I was thinking too, like if you heat this up and kind of like press this down and then run some cold water on it to make it hold the shape, you could probably get rid of those gaps. So I might try that at some point and see if I can get rid of that bald spot thing going on there. And finally, after all of that, we're back to where we started. DCG on NT, which I believe is just the overall just winning combination. Just so cool. All right, now we're going to briefly cover the hands that the NT Goku includes. I'm not going to cover Legendary Super Saiyan Goku. I mean, he has tons of hands and you've already seen like what he has. He has a bunch of stuff. But I want to mention first, for the NT, when I was trying these hands out earlier and stuff, one of my pegs started to like break, okay? So it seems they might have a similar issue to Kong Studio, although I saw some other reviewers review this figure and they didn't have that issue. So this could be an isolated case, but I'd just be very cautious. I actually what I did was I removed the hand pegs from mine and replaced them with some extra Saiyan Rays on Earth hand pegs I had. They like, some of the NT hands have smaller peg holes than others, so some of them work pretty well on 2.0 hand pegs and others don't. So these are actually Saiyan Rays on Earth fists that I have on him, and I don't really mind having to use like Saiyan Rays on Earth hands for this in general or whatever. But just keep in mind, as far as quality control, at least in my case, I did have that issue, which is a bit disappointing. If I didn't have extra pegs, I'd probably be like pretty upset. So of course, as with most Dragon Ball figures, it includes some fists right here, as you can see, 2 like open blasting hands, 2 martial arts pose style hands. I will say though, like the nails on some of these fingers look really sharp, like Goku has claws going on, you see that? Kind of like me when I don't cut my nails. I do see that, yes, they are getting a bit long again. I might have to cut them again. And finally, we have some like, you know, open blasting hands right here. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but originally my like windswept hair, you can still kind of see a bit of residue there, had this like black speck on it, and I had to kind of scrape it off slowly with an X-Acto knife, and I still have to keep going. You see there's a bit of, you know, whatever there. So another quality control issue right there for me. Yeah, wasn't really pleased about that one. It took me a while even to get it that much gone. Now, as far as accessories go, the NT Goku includes these like little electricity effects. I'm not a big fan of these personally. I think they look kind of, I don't know. They don't look very cool to me personally, to be honest with you. I wish they included the Kamehameha effect that the legendary Super Saiyan Goku had. Yes, I already have one, but I think it would have been better than this, to be honest. Because I mean, you know, legendary Super Saiyan Goku, like on Namek, didn't really have electricity, so it doesn't really fit, you know. And these, like, as far as I know, there's no like specific way to do them. You gotta kind of like fit them into parts of the figure and stuff. So let me try, see if I can do that and show you what that would look like, okay? So you get the idea, right? Kind of like this. This is, of course, a very poor job, but just to give you an idea, like this is what you're supposed to do, like, you know, stick it into crevices and stuff like that. Not really my personal favorite thing. I'm not, as you guys know, I'm not really that into like these kinds of effects and stuff like that. So yeah. I do think this one from the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, though, when you pose it right, it does look pretty cool. So this is one effect that I kind of like. Now let's compare the bodies of these two figures, okay? As far as the actual sculpt of the body, they should be pretty much identical. Although, as I said earlier, for some reason, the NT Goku is slightly taller than the SHF one, and he might be slightly wider. No, I don't think so. But he's slightly taller, and I'm really not sure why that is the case. His shoulder, as you can see, is higher than the SH Figuarts one is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that's about. But as far as shading goes, right, you can see the shading on the NT body, which is pretty solid. Like, I kind of wish the shading was a bit more pronounced than it is, but it's definitely a step up from the SH Figuarts, right? Also, the NT, as you can see, it has the wounds on there. It has some scratches. It has this like sweat and stuff, right? So that's really, really cool. And I appreciate those extra details, you know? And then as far as the colors go, the colors on the NT are way more vibrant. Now, I do prefer these colors, but I don't think they're necessarily more accurate or anything, because usually in Super Saiyan form, Goku's clothes are very, very light like this. So I don't know if this might actually be kind of inaccurate. You know, I guess it depends on what, you know, you're looking at. Some television screens back in the day might have had him looking like this and stuff. You know, different colors show up differently on different screens and stuff. So I don't know, but I do prefer this color scheme personally, the more vibrant colors. Although I will say that the boots, like the paint application on the boots, it looks like, I think, a bit too cartoony. It's like, I don't know. And also I have some imperfection here on mine. You see that? Some yellow paint right there. Yeah, so that is not good right there. And then the paint around the boots, there's some paint bleeding here out of the lines. So yeah, as I said before, as far as the quality of the NT body and figure, like the quality is definitely below SH Figuarts as far as like plastic quality, the joints, you know, that kind of thing. But as far as the artistic quality of the body, I do prefer the body compared to the SHF, because the SHF is so plain. I mean, this is supposed to be Goku in an epic battle with the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza, and all this kind of stuff. And this thing is just like plain. The scratches aren't painted in. And this thing costs what, $65, $70? You're telling me that for $65, $70, you can't fill in these details, man? Like, seriously? Like, that is why I have such a problem with Bandai. They charge so much for these figures and give you this plain thing. And you know, even as far as the shading goes, right? People say, oh, it has some shading right there. Dude, you gotta like squint with a magnifying glass to see if that's shading or not. You're like, is it shaded? You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to be like trying to figure out whether it's shaded or not. It should be very clear to you, very obvious to see, oh yeah, that upper body, that is shaded. Okay, you can see that it's shaded, right? Whereas for this, you gotta be like, is that shading on the pants, or I don't know, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, SH Figuarts really needs to step it up, man. Like the Genki Damatsuri Goku, for example, right, has shading in the muscles and stuff like that. And this one's just this plain thing for $65. No, 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 no. Okay, we need more detail. We need more paint. This thing should have at least something like this. You understand? This is not like intense shading, okay? But this is definitely way better than what SH Figuarts is giving you, okay? You see that right there? Yeah, so yeah, I really do appreciate the details on the NT Goku, the scratches and all that stuff. Very, very solid. I do like that for sure. This is what Goku should look like in a line called SH Figu-ARTS, right? It should look like the art. Now, as far as articulation goes, this figure should basically be identical to Legendary Super Saiyan Goku, so whatever that can do, this should be able to do as well, okay? I will say though, some of the joints, like in the legs especially, probably gonna wanna put some oil in there. I had to put some oil in this one, and it moves a lot better now than it did before, although getting it to do the split is kind of difficult over there. Much easier on this side, I think. Yeah, easier on this side to get it high up, but it also has some like wobbly leg going on, okay? So the joints there are not, you know, to their proper friction and stuff like that. Yeah, that's unfortunate, you know? So yeah, as far as the quality of the plastic, the quality of the joints and stuff like that, SH Figuarts, I would say, is superior in that regard. The only way that this one wins is as far as the artistic quality, you know? And for me, I think in this case, for the price of this is not like super expensive. I think you'd probably find this anywhere from like, let's say, you could probably get it from like $45 to $55, right? I mean, without the DCG. So the price is not as horrendous as many other third-party figures are. So, you know, I do think it should be a bit lower though, to be honest with you. And of course, the price is going to differ depending on where you get it from. But if you pair this with the DCG, I mean, this is pretty much like, you know, visually, like very close to perfect, you know, like it's really, really solid stuff. All right, guys, so it's time for my closing thoughts. What do I think of this figure? And of course, the DCG head sculpts. The DCG head sculpts are really solid. They look fantastic. I wish they had a teeth gritted head sculpt, like a proper teeth gritted head sculpt. And I also wish they were soft rubber, soft plastic, because switching them out can be kind of tedious sometimes. And they really literally like stab my hand. Like it's actually kind of painful sometimes. So I think they need to improve on that. As far as the body goes, the NT body, I like the look of it. I do wish that it had better quality though, okay? Like the arm peg breaking, didn't like that. The looseness of certain things, the legs wobbling, the paint defect on my boot there, you know, that kind of thing, not the best. But I will say that if you're someone who values high quality art like I do, and of course you're not gonna be playing with this like a child, you know, roughhousing and stuff like that, I think you will appreciate this combination as kind of like just a Goku that really captures that anime feeling, that high quality feeling, right? Like when you look at the SH Figuarts, you feel like it's just this generic plain kind of figure. Like some of the face sculpts look pretty nice in certain angles and stuff like that. The yelling one I think is pretty solid, but overall it's just so plain that it really does not deserve the name of a premium figure or a high-end figure, okay? If it looked more like the NT body and had face sculpts like the DCG, I'd be like, okay, that is a solid figure. I feel like I have the anime in my hand, the manga in my hand, Toriyama's art in my hand, okay? So hopefully this review was useful for you and, you know, helps you make some kind of decision about whether to get this or not. Links in the description, of course, if you want to get these for yourself, the head sculpts or the body. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.